Hi, I'm Annika Johnson from Al Johnson's in Sister Bay. I hope you enjoy my new video series called Door County Girl. These are stories of my life, the people and places that I love, and of course how we all survive here in northern Wisconsin. You can come back as often as you like, but don't forget to subscribe to Al's YouTube channel. I'll be posting lots of really cool new videos. So let's go! Welcome to another episode of Door County Girl. Today we're here with Cinnamon Rossman, and she's with the Door County Land Trust. And I would love to get more familiar with what the Land Trust does. And so I'm going to let Cinnamon talk and let us know what the Land Trust does and why we all need to understand about preserving land here in Door County, because we don't really have that much of it. When I'm in the air, it doesn't look like much.
It's a pretty small peninsula.
I know, but it's nice to see that they block some off where there's nothing that's going to grow there, at least. So yeah. So take it away and let me hear. What would you tell me if I need to know about the Land Trust?
Well, Door County Land Trust was first incorporated in 1986, and it's a grassroots nonprofit organization. It's just a group of people in the community came together and decided that Door County was just a place that needed to be protected. There's so much development happening back in the 80s, and you know what? Honestly, it's never stopped, really. But people came together and just decided that we have to protect this amazing place. So the Land Trust now protects about almost 9,000 acres, which is a pretty incredible amount of land. If you were to add up all of Door County's state parks, Rock Island, Newport, Peninsula State Park, Whitefish Dunes, and Potawatomi, that combined acreage is 9,000 acres. It's about exactly what the Door County Land Trust protects. In the grand scheme of things, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Door County doesn't have as much protected land as other places in Wisconsin, and especially compared to other states like Michigan and Minnesota, they protect a lot more of their wild lands than Wisconsin does. So there's so much more that could be done.
What's the reasoning behind that? Why do other places have such a jump start and we're kind of lagging? Is it because we're smaller, or what do you think it is?
It just, it's state politics is a part of it. We have to make decisions, I think, as a people, what's important to us, and protected land should definitely be one of those priorities. In other parts of Wisconsin, like the northern parts of Wisconsin, they have a lot more state forest, and we don't have as much of that here in Door County. And, we as a people, I think, have to decide what our priorities are and choose to protect Door County. And there's so many amazing things here. People take it for granted. I grew up here, and I had no idea what a special place this was until I started working for the Land Trust. I had no idea that there are so many rare and endangered and threatened species that live here. And, if people knew more about this place, they would definitely want to be involved in protecting it.
That's interesting, because we just went to the Maritime Museum, and we were talking to Sam Perlman, and we had to go into this little room and watch a movie. And I learned so much in the 14 or 12-minute movie that it was. And they talked about 40 different species of plants and animals that nowhere else on earth do they exist except for Door County.
Yeah.
So I did not know that. I mean, I know that we have things here that are endangered, but I didn't realize they were the only place that they are.
Yeah, we have some pretty incredible things here. There are a couple of species, like off the top of my head, that I think are just amazing. One of them is the Pitcher's Dune Thistle, and it's a really small plant. It grows along the sand dunes on the lake side of the peninsula, and it used to be all around Lake Michigan, but it's threatened. People used to see it on their lakefront property and just yank it out. So
does it look like grass?
No, it looks like a thistle plant, but it's kind of soft and fuzzy, and it has beautiful flowers in the springtime. But we have a little bit of that here in Door County still. And one of our nature preserves that the Door County Land Trust protects actually right now has the best population of that plant surviving anywhere in the Great Lakes. It's here in Door County.
Wow.
And I mean, that's
which nature preserve is that in? Do you
that's
know?
the Sturgeon Bay Ship Canal Nature Preserve.
Okay.
It's a beautiful plant, but we've had Chicago Botanic Garden coming up doing research on this plant.
I've been there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
So the researchers come up here and they've been studying the plant, I think, for almost 15 years now. And they've done a whole bunch of different studies. Like they track the seeds and how many young plants are growing each year. But they also have been doing a thing where they count which insects go to each flowering plant on the dunes. And they do that all summer long. And they're looking at all of the species of plants on the dunes. And what they can tell is that if the pitcher's thistle isn't on the dunes, then those insects have to go someplace else to seek food because that's the only plant that blooms at that time. And then once the insects go someplace else, they don't come back to the dunes later in the season. So the rest of those plants on the dunes don't get pollinated and they don't make more seeds. So it starts to disrupt the entire ecosystem. If you think about it, like Door County, we survive off of cherries and apples, and that's our main thing. If we don't have pollinator insects that rely on those native plants, it disrupts the entire ecosystem and it disrupts all of the things that we rely on. So.
And what are the biggest pollinators of that little plant that we need to be worried about? What do you know? What it's not the bee, is it?
There's a whole bunch of different kinds of bumblebees. I don't know how many bumblebees altogether are in Door County,
So
but
mostly
there's like
the bumblebees.
50 or 60 kinds of bumblebees. There are a bunch of different moths and butterflies.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I don't know all the species names,
No,
but the
that's
Chicago
okay.
Botanic Research, they could tell you the Latin names for everything.
I know, I'm more visual. So if I have a lot of bumblebees at my house because I have a lot of flowers and plants, but I didn't notice a lot of regular honeybees much last year. I noticed more bumblebees, and they were all different kinds. There were real big ones and real little ones. And I had a lot of the littler ones. They were little fuzzy bumblebees, but they weren't like the big kinds. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those little bumblebees are pretty important. Those are the native Wisconsin bees. The honeybees that you see growing in hives, those are usually imported or brought in for agricultural purposes. But those individual solitary bumblebees, those account for most of our native bee population. They're really important.
I sort of have a question about that. So
Yeah?
when the agricultural, like the orchards bring in the bees, and I see them on trucks and they drive them in and then they just drop them off in the orchard and then they pollinate their orchards, and then I see a truck come pick them all up and drive them away because I guess they want the honey. But I feel like, is that a good way to do things? Because I feel like my son and I, one time, were walking through the orchard and they put the bees out way too early. And I mean, you never know about the weather. And they were all freezing to death before they could get back in the hive. So we stood there with sticks and tried to rescue as many bees as we could. But, but it was kind of, and I remember working at Al's one day and I saw a truck go by and it had all the beehives on it. And I could see all the bees falling off the truck. And the truck's just driving away with their home.
Yeah.
And then what happens? I mean, I'm thinking that's just...
I can't speak to this because bees are not my area of expertise, but they bring those bees out to pollinate the orchards.
Why don't they leave the beehives here, though? Why don't they leave them in the orchards?
I don't know. You have to ask a bee expert.
Ask,
But without pollinating each individual flower, there would be no cherries or there would be no apples. So that's the most important part.
Yeah, if there's no more bees, then we don't have any more plants of any source, probably.
Yeah.
I know, I always hear about the bees. I know we're on a bee tangent.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
They're connected to everything. I was just thinking, there are certain plants that are in the woods here that are endangered orchids and things like that. Like there's a really small little ram's head orchid, and it can only be pollinated by insects that are small enough to fit inside the flower. And it's really limited bloom time. And so it's adapted to a very specific kind of insect to pollinate it. And if we don't preserve the habitat as a whole, then we don't have the insects, then we don't have the flowers. They don't continue to propagate. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you have experts that work with the land trust that are part of the land trust, or do you seek out scientists to help you figure out things? Like, how does that work inside the land trust?
Sure. We have a couple people on staff who help to coordinate different research projects, but for the most part, we rely on experts from outside who come in and do research. So we have a couple of different projects. We have one where we're monitoring birds, nesting birds, and it's actually a citizen science project where we'll have a researcher and then a whole bunch of community members who help on the project.
I hear that on NPR all the time.
Citizen science, yes. It is definitely something that we're talking about. You know, the landscape is so big and there are so many places to watch and to monitor that we can't do it on ourselves, all ourselves. We really need community participation, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I love
So we have people who go out to set points, and they have like a set time frame, and they'll count how many birds they see, and then they look for the activity of birds, so they can tell if a bird is just, if it's just foraging for food, or if it's picking up sticks and twigs and building a nest, or if they see birds who are actually, pairing or courting or mating or something like that. So we use information like that to be able to tell if we're doing the right kind of activities on the land. So at Sturgeon Bay Ship Canal, for instance, we've done a project there where we're taking out the invasive plants that shouldn't be there and trying to replant the things that should be there. And what we can tell is that more birds are nesting there on the land because they have the right kind of shrubs, the right kind of berries, the things that they need to survive there. So.
Gosh, everything's so... Do you have to pay these researchers, or do they do it voluntarily, or they get state funded, or how does that...
A lot of people are coming to us from university groups, so there are some connections with the UW system. We have some people who are coming from Michigan.
So it helps them as well. Once
Yep.
they, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So a lot of these
connected.
are partnership projects.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, on a different note, how do people get involved with the land trust? Is it... just say you have 80 acres and you only need 20 of it and you wanted to donate to the land trust. How does that work?
Well, there's so many different ways that people could get involved with the land trust. Of course, we accept donations of land, which is, we always have a couple of donations of land every year, which is fantastic. We also, if a property is in a priority project area where we're working, we sometimes will do something called a bargain sale. So say that you want to have your land protected and you're willing to sell it for a little less than the appraised value. You would get a partial donation, but then the land trust could buy the land from you and permanently protect it. Another option is a conservation easement. So say that you have a beautiful 40-acre piece of land and you have your house in the middle of it, and you want to protect it, but you don't want to sell it. You want to maintain it yourself. We could do a conservation easement that protects everything around the house, so that would never be able to be built, but you keep the property. And that's called a conservation easement. It's like a permanent agreement that stays with the land forever. So even if you were to sell it in the future, the land would still be protected from future development. So we have about half of the acres that we protect right now are in conservation easement.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
That's
the
really
property
nice.
owners, they own their land, they get to keep it, they make all the decisions about it, and we just ensure that it can never be further developed in the future. So it works out to be a pretty good deal.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
And that way it's a kind of a no-brainer. Then you will never have really neighbors plopping down next to you or building on your lot or, yeah.
Yeah, and for the land trust, it makes a lot of sense because we can never own outright all of the land in Door County that needs to be protected. There are so many places that have these special kind of plants and animals and things, but we can't just own outright all of the county. We have to work together as a community to protect places. And conservation easements are one tool that can help protect a place that's already got a house built, but maybe it's like on the edge of a natural area or something like that.
Okay.
So that's pretty helpful.
Do you do any fundraising events? Do you do anything? And where are you located? Where does someone go? Is there a main office? If they want to learn something, or do they just go online?
Well, definitely go online to get more information about the land trust. Our website is doorcountylandtrust.org. We have an office in Sturgeon Bay, and we have a staff of 12 people right now. We are going to be moving locations very soon, so that's kind of exciting.
Where are you moving to?
Well, we're just moving a couple blocks away.
Okay.
We're renovating the old Nicolay Bank building, so we're going to be on the second floor of the bank
Okay.
building. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people can visit the website to learn more. And our office isn't so much open to the public, but
You just can't come knocking. Yeah.
I mean, you can come knocking and somebody will be there. But once we're in the new space, it'll be much easier and much nicer office space.
And you don't do fundraisers, things like that, do you?
You know, we haven't since before the pandemic, but we are going to this year probably do a couple of annual events.
Didn't you do one by Al's? Didn't you do a Christmas tree or a tree giveaway?
We did do the tree giveaway, and we're doing that again this spring.
I just got an email on that. That was kind of cool. Explain a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah. So, well, we've been talking about all these habitat projects, improving Door County habitat. We're doing a project to give away native trees and native pollinator plants so that people can help to preserve, you know, a little bit of Door County.
Mm-hmm.
So, May 7th, we're going to be at Al's, and we're giving away trees and plants. People will be able to choose up to 3 items, and they're free if they want to make a donation that day.
Who doesn't want free
I
plants?
know. Everybody wants
Helping
free
everything.
plants, right?
Come and get some plants. Yeah.
So, yeah, it should be really good. Last year when we did this, we had a line, I think, from the door all the way out down the sidewalk, and we gave away everything that we had in the first hour. So
I bet.
This year we have twice as many trees and plants, and part of that is thanks to a generous donation from Al. So
Yay.
I know. Good job, you guys.
We try.
No, you guys have been really generous and very supportive. It's great.
Good. That's good. I'm glad. I'll be always your supporter there. If everybody says no, I'll be there saying yes.
Yeah.
I know. I love when I fly. I don't get to fly very often, but if I get to fly above, I always talk about how small it really looks. But I also am noticing that there's not a lot of houses in areas. There's a lot of forest and swamps and places like that no one has lived in yet,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's places I don't like to go sometimes. In the winter, I don't mind, but like Mud Lake and anything on the Lake Michigan side where you get inundated by horse flies.
Yeah, that is true.
I know. I always want to say, who'd ever want to live over here in the summer? You have to build a little screen to sit in, otherwise you'd be a horse fly.
That's funny though.
Feeding trough.
The area that you're talking about, there's about 45,000 acres that stretch from Newport State Park all the way down to Bailey's Harbor along the lakeside that has been designated as an internationally significant wetland of importance. And this is the area that you're talking about.
Yes, because my mom used to make me go in there and pick wild strawberries, and we would go pick certain like mayflowers, things like that you're still able to pick or find. And I wouldn't get out of the car because as soon as you step out of the car, it was like bang, 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 bang. I would sit in the car, and my mom would wear her like combat suit just so she could pick a couple strawberries.
I know exactly what you're talking
about. But not in the winter or the fall or the spring. It's still pretty good. It's just that one summer period where you're just like...
the horse flies could be really bad.
Well, is there anything else that we need to know more about the land trust? Is that...
I think the biggest thing is that this is a community organization, and everybody can help make a difference. Like truly everyone in Door County can make a difference.
And how about children? Do they get involved quite a bit?
Yeah, we have some kids who are pretty involved. We have a lot of kids who will show up for the tree giveaway. I think that's a fun project.
They get excited to plant a tree.
Yeah, they get to plant a tree and get to watch it grow. I mean, we have trees at my parents' house that I helped plant when I was a kid, and I love seeing those trees.
I remember in school they would give away little trees for Arbor Day, and I would get so excited about the tree, and then I would plant it in the yard, and my dad would mow it over with a lawnmower, and I'm like, Dad, you cut down my tree! It was like, what, this big? You know?
Well, we'll give you another tree, Annika.
I'll have to get some trees. I know, I live on a 40-acre plot of land right now, and we let the farmer farm it all. But there was one time where in the center, there was this little thing of trees growing. And I loved that there was this little patch of trees growing. So I told the farmer that he could plow everything else, but please don't plow that patch of trees. And then when Bo was in the hospital for like a year and I was gone, the farmer mowed everything down. So I was kind of bummed about that. But I mean, I can always start growing trees again out there. I just have to tell them, hey, could you please not go in that one corner, or I have to rope it off or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got benefits for the farmers, but it also would be nice to have a little more trees and wind blockage. I like that when it's not so windy with the trees and the shade.
You need a little shade.
I do need a little shade. It's very hot up and windy where I live because it's so open. I live around orchards though, so it's kind of cool. I always try to help the bees out when they put them there, and I make bee land, you know, where you put the pizza pans out so they don't keep drowning in buckets of water or the dishes.
Oh, that's so nice.
Well, I feel so bad because I remember one day my mom's dog got bit by a whole bunch of bees. And they were all in the water buckets. And so instead of leaving the water buckets out for the dogs, I just got pizza pans and put them under trees. And eventually all the bees would just go there instead. But you always had to put sticks, rocks, and leaves because they would fall in and they'd have to try to find a way to climb out. So that's kind of cool.
Well, definitely you have to come to the tree giveaway because we'll have some pollinator plants. We have wood phlox and prairie blazing star. I'm trying to remember the plants off the top of my head. And there are two other ones, but they're really beautiful flowers that will help attract bees. And they go to seed by themselves, so you can grow your garden once you have a few of those.
Okay, I will. Well, that wraps up our episode of Door County Girl with Cinnamon Rossman with the Door County Land Trust. And I would suggest everybody go online and check it out. It's a beautiful experience to enjoy nature in Door County. I mean, mostly everyone who comes up here to vacation enjoys the outdoors. So everybody should get involved, even if you're just a tourist or if you're someone who actually lives here. Because I remember when there were frogs everywhere, people, and there aren't many frogs around anymore, but lots of toads. Wondering always what's going on. What happened to the leopard frogs? But you learn things like that by getting involved with nature. So I hope you all decide to look into the Door County Land Trust. And if you're a landowner and you don't really have anybody that wants to take over your property, you should think about preserving a little property for future generations. So anyway,
that'd be great.
Thank you so much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Door County Girls so you can meet people like Cinnamon Rossman and learn all kinds of good information about Door County. See you later, everyone.
Thanks, Annika.
Thanks for watching Door County Girl. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.